How to build a executive summary. Hi everyone, my name is Johannes. I'm a strategy consultant, and on this channel I share my thoughts, learnings and experience about consulting, business and mindset. And if you're new to the channel, please make sure to subscribe to it and also leave a thumb up. This will help to grow the channel and would really support what we are doing here. And today we have a practical slide building session, and I'm really sorry for the low audio quality. I don't have my proper mic with me. I'm currently traveling, so I hope you will apologize for the bad sound today. Nevertheless, I hope this video brings you value, and what I want to do today is that we build together an executive summary. The reason for that is that for my consulting preparation course that was launched last week, I want to create some slide blueprints that you can use afterwards if you have access to the course. So I thought, okay, if I have to build those slides anyway, then why not building them and recording how I do it, so maybe you can learn something from it. And what I want to do is that I want to create with you together a slide blueprint for an executive summary that you can use if you want to build or have executive summaries in your presentation. So with that being said, I would say let's jump into PowerPoint. And what you see here is the slide master. Maybe two things up front. So first of all, if you don't know what an executive summary is, then please watch one of my previous videos. There I explained it. Also, if you want to know how to set up a slide master like that, I also explained that in a previous video. Maybe a few comments about the slide master. And today I think we will see many reasons why I built slide masters the way I built them. So what we have, the typical elements, is that we have here a header for the chapter tracker. Then we have the logo, so this is basically the Mastering Consulting logo. Then we have an action title, a placeholder for 2 rows. Then here we have the footer with the footnotes, presentation name and slide numbers. And then we have here the space for building the slide. Something that is special here are the grid lines. And something that I talked about the last video are the way that I format grid lines. So as you maybe can see, the grid lines have different colors, and the blue ones are the normal grid lines. So those are the grid lines that frame the space that you can work in within your consulting slide. I try to have equal distances between the right border to the right guideline and the left border to the right guideline, because this makes the slide look very symmetrical. And then one thing that I usually try to do or want to do is that I also build guidelines that divide my slides in thirds and in quarters. So if you can see here, the red guidelines, they divide the slide in quarters. So here's 1 quarter, this is 1 quarter, 1 quarter. So we have 4 columns. It's the same with the rows. So if you see the horizontal red lines, 1 row, 2nd row, 3rd and 4th. And it's the same with the orange guidelines. Here you see that I have 3 columns, 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, and they are separated by those orange guidelines, and it's the same with the rows. So why is this important? You will see that in a second. If you have to build slide blueprints, you can very easily divide your slide into thirds or into quarters, and this will automatically make a slide look much more symmetrical and much more appealing to the audience's eyes. So you will see that. Good. So let's talk about executive summaries. So executive summaries are basically very simple. You typically have 2 parts of it. So you have one section where you have in a few sentences the summary of the entire slide, of the entire presentation. And then in a second section, you have the different chapters and maybe some bullets for the chapters. Let me tell you, there are thousands of ways of building executive summary slides. In most cases, you just have a simple bullet format. In this version, I want to do something, that's not really fancy, but that at least works for me. Also, what you will see is that we work with a lot of shortcuts, so I will explain everything that I do. So what I want to do is that I want to include here a shape where I have the summary of the entire presentation in a few sentences. And below that, I want to create some space where we can include some text in bullet format. So let's start. And now you will see what I mean with the search. So I include a shape. So you get to the shapes by pressing Alt. then N for insert, SH, and then you have get access to the shapes. Or what I did, I have a quick shortcut because I attached the shapes to my Access toolbar. So I just press Alt and 9, so I get direct access to the shapes. So, and I will use the first quarter, so I have to orient myself along the orange guidelines here. This will be the main summary. I will change the color of the slide so that you see what I mean. I changed the color by pressing Alt J D. Oh, sorry. Alt J. So why doesn't it work? Alt J D S F. Yes, Alt J D S F. Then you can quickly change the color. Then Alt J D S O is the outline. So no outline. So, and this is what I mean. So what we have now here is that we have one quarter with one text box and the other quarter with the other one. Again, I want to align that. Sorry, I rearranged my shortcuts. Also make the same width. And if we go to the full screen, then you will see that it takes some time to load the slide because I'm recording. So here we go. Okay. And now this is what you see. So you see that we have one quarter for the main text and then the rest of the space for the bullet points. And those quarters immediately help to make the slide look very structured. So your eye directly sees that, you know, this is a kind of symmetrical structure. And that's what I really like about using those guidelines in quarters and inserts. Oops. Good. But let's get back to it. Then I would include here some dummy text. Okay, and we see the text is white, so I go to Alt H F C, and then I can change the color. I also go to Alt H A L. This will make it left centered, and then I also decrease the font size. I would recommend to not, go lower than font size 12, but this is up to you. Then I also want to align it to the top, so I click Alt HATT, so it moves to the top. Good. And this would be like, here is the entire summary of the presentation in a few sentences. And then I will copy it, just to get a feeling how it looks. Okay. What you also see is that they show me some errors because of the spelling, because it's set in German. So I set it to English, and now it works. So I also want to have this probably bold. And here we would have a couple of sentences that would summarize the entire presentation. Below that, you typically have, and again, we need to include some text. So I include some text. It's again white, so Alt HFC font color. Then we make it black. Then Alt HAL left centered. Alt HFS, so we get the font size. Then we make 12, and Alt HATT. Then we can align to the top. And here we would probably have like a chapter 1. Then probably some bullet points. To include bullet point, you have to press Alt H U. Then you get to the bullet point format and you select bullet points. Then we probably want to have 4 of those. And let's assume that on average we have like 4 chapters. Okay, we only have space for 3 chapters. Okay, it works nevertheless. Then I would make that bold. Bold. Sorry, my laptop is a little bit slow because I'm recording at the same time. So it could look something like that. And then, of course, we want to adjust the space of the lines. So let me think how we do it. I think the easiest way is you go to Alt H, then it's K, L, and then you say before a chapter, you want to have a space of 6 points. Okay, here it doesn't change because you have nothing above, but here will change. Oops, sorry. You mark that. Then Alt H KL. Then before 6. And now we see there is a space. It just makes it look a little bit more structured. Do the same for this chapter. Alt H KL. So we see we would even have a little bit more space. So maybe let's change it. Oops. It's very slow. Okay, this is kind of annoying. So I will mark both of them. Then Alt H KL. Then we don't make a space of 6. Let's make rather 18. Let's see how it looks. Oh, this was too much. So you see sometimes it's also a struggle. Okay, something like that. Yeah, looks much better. Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3. Here is the summary of Chapter 1 in a few bullet points. So I just do that in order to, get a feeling how it looks if there is some text in it. Then we want to copy those items. Sorry. Chap. Okay, looks good. Then the same for the last chapter. So I include the text just to get a feeling how it looks if there is some text included, just to see, if from the space, it looks good. Then I make full screen. This probably will take some time to load again. That's the thing. If you record at the same time while building PowerPoint slides, then it just takes some time. I'm sorry for that. Okay, and here we see. Okay, and this looks okay. I mean, I'm just looking at, the structure, and here we see, okay, in the first bucket, we would have the main sentence, the main summary in a few sentences, and then we could use some bullets here to describe each chapter. Good. And now I think, you can also brush it up a little. You can now, this is like the structure. If I talk about slide building, I always talk about the same. First, you need to think about, okay, what kind of content you want to show. If you build a blueprint, then you should know about, what kind of content sections you want to have. Then the next step, and it's the step that we just did, is that you make the layout of the slide. And then only the third step is that you really brush it up. So up until now, it was only structuring. This is how I would usually approach a slide. I usually like to work with those gray boxes or shapes just to get an understanding, okay, how I will arrange the slide. And typically this would be the point where I would send the slide to the slide support service where they say, okay, or I can say, okay, please beautify it. So please make it look really nice. And then they usually do their fancy PowerPoint stuff to make it really look nice. I'm not a pro in, making those presentations look great, but nevertheless, maybe a few things. So I would do that probably here in white. So again, we change it to white. This could stay in gray. I know there are some people who say you don't want to have gray boxes. I would probably make this in blue and maybe the chapter headlines also in blue. Yeah, why not? Can do that. But there are hundreds of other ways, to beautify it. Maybe I also do some different versions. So this could be an option, something like that. Then another graphical option could be probably to make this in white. Oh, come on. Then you would include a line maybe. We could also include a line to separate like the header, the first section from the second one. So we press Alt N F H, and then we go to the line. Here it comes. So then you can place it here on something like that. This would be the option if you would say, maybe make it a little bit bigger from the weight. This would be the option if you would say, okay, you don't want to have like gray boxes around it. And then we have like, let's say 2 options. Let's take a look at it. Again, it loads. Yes, why not? So this could be like option number 1. So there you would have no gray boxes. Then option number 2 would be with a gray box. Yeah, you could do both. It doesn't matter. Typically you would send this to the slide support. They would make it look really fancy, but I'm kind of happy with the result. So it took me like, 10 minutes. I explained a little bit, so maybe a little bit longer, 15 minutes. But this is very easy to do. But I think the main lessons here for you are, just the process of building slides. So first of all, set up your slide master properly. Also get comfortable with using shortcuts. As you see, it's getting very fast. I rarely use the mouse, so you become very efficient in building those slides, especially inserting shapes, changing colors, aligning stuff. This makes it much easier if you are used to using shortcuts. And also, just the way how I approach slides, it's just that I first think about, okay, what kind of things do I want to show on the slide? Then I just make the outline, and then at the end, I just make it look nice or brush it up, do the colors. So I don't start with beautifying. This is always the last step, because this is typically where, especially in strategy consulting, you work with slide supports. Good. With that being said, if you want to see more of those slide building sessions, I would probably do some more this week, because I have to build those blueprints. And if I build them anyhow, then I can